For this tutorial, what I highly recommend using is the Premier Parfait yarn. And this one ball, I think, on Amazon, I'm going to leave links down below. On Amazon, you can get one of these and all you need is one. This is what was left over from making that other hat you just saw. So all you need is one. And it was like $4 or $5 for the one. And I actually prefer this velvet yarn over the Bernat velvet because this is more dense. It's more densely on, the fibers are more dense. There's more fibers and it really grabs a hold of itself very well. It will allow for a nice stiff hat that we want. And also, like even just sewing in your tails, whenever I instruct people to use the Bernat, you have to leave like a tail like this long to really weave it in like crazy because that yarn is so sparse and silky that it unravels itself. But this is different. It is very, very soft, just as soft really, but because the fibers there's more fibers on the strand, it's so much more densely packed, you're just gonna get a much better outcome. Look at how nice these stitches look. Very, very dense and blunt, but uniform, really, really nice. So if you're leery about using the velvet yarn, just do yourself a favor and give this one a try. Don't be leery about using this one. This is the one. Okay, so one ball of this, or if you need for reference, this is obviously, they call this a super bulky. I would highly disagree. This is just a 5 bulky. This is not a super bulky. It is 131 yards. And we are using a J or 6mm hook. You will need some kind of stitch marker because while we are working in the rounds, we're also working in a spiral. We're not going to be slip stitching and marking the end of our row. We have to manually mark the end and the beginning of our row. And you're also going to need a tape measure as this hat isn't going to be worked up in rows. It's going to be worked up in inches, which is what makes it perfect. You don't have to worry about what row am I on? Just grab the tape measure and how many more centimeters or inches or whatever do I need to go? Okay, so to start off, you can chain 4 and slip stitch into your first chain to form a ring, or you can start off with a magic circle like I'm going to. And let's work 8 single crochet into our ring. Okay, there is 8. Let me close my ring up a little bit. I'm telling you, this yarn really sticks to itself. It's just nothing like the Bernat. Nothing like the Bernat. Okay, so instead of slip stitching into our first stitch, we're just going to work our next single crochet as our first stitch of round 2. So there we go, our first stitch made. Now immediately after making your first stitch, put your stitch marker in the top of that first stitch. And you're going to work another single crochet in that same stitch. And this round, every stitch is going to get every stitch is going to get 2 single crochet worked into it. So we are doubling our stitch count from 8 to 16. Okay, coming up to the end here, let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I need to work 2 more stitches. Here is 15 and 16. Now for round 3, we're going to start our repeat increase rounds. So you'll take your stitch marker out, work your first single crochet, put your stitch marker right back in that stitch you just made. Now that is your first single crochet. The next stitch over gets 2 single crochet, so only 1 in the first one. Then the next stitch over gets 1 single crochet only. And then the stitch after that gets 2 single crochet. This is the repeat all the way around. You will work 1, and the next stitch over, work an increase of 2 single crochet in the same stitch. Then the next stitch after that just gets 1. All the way around. Okay, coming up to my last stitch here, you should have 24 stitches by the end of this round. Okay, now we start our next round. Right where our stitch marker was, we work 1 single crochet, put our stitch marker right back as soon as we make that stitch. Now the next stitch over gets 1 single crochet. Then the next stitch over, we work our increase, which is 2 single crochet into the same stitch. So this round is going to get 2 single crochet between the increases. So we just worked an increase. Now we work 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, and then the stitch after that gets an increase of 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Now we work 1, then the next stitch over, 1, then the next stitch over gets an increase. So 1, 1, increase. All the way around. Okay, here we are. I just worked 1, then another 1, and now my increase. You should always end every round with an increase. Always end every round with 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Now our next round. Now rounds don't really matter. I mean, keeping track of what round you're on doesn't matter for this pattern at any point in this pattern. Okay. Worked our first single crochet, immediately put our stitch marker right back into that same stitch. That marks where our round both begins and ends. Now I have my 1. Now I'm going to work a single crochet in the next stitch over and then a single crochet in the next stitch over. So now we have 3 single crochet, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches between the increases. This is going to be the repeat. Let me work my increase real quick. This is going to be the repeat until you have reached a total. Now this I'm getting from the last pattern I worked. A total of 3.5 inches. Okay. So what that means is this round we're working 3 single crochet between the increase. The next round we will work 4 single crochet between the increase, then 5 single crochet, and then 6, and then 7, and then 8. I believe I worked 10 rounds using this exact yarn with this hook. But, and again, if you don't want to use velvet, you don't have velvet, and you really want to make this hat, that's okay too. Grab 2 strands of worsted weight yarn and you're good to go. But if you can get your hands on some velvet yarn, that really is the most authentic way to make a 90s bucket hat. But anyways, so just keep working in a spiral until you have achieved 3.5 inches from the very center to the edge. When you have achieved 3.5 inches, come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so I have reached, here's the center, I have reached 3.5 inches. Now, here's what we do next. We want our hat to go from a flat top straight down. We don't want it to slowly go down like a beanie hat. We want it to go straight down. So we're going to work in the back loop only, but we're not going to work a single crochet. We're going to work a slip stitch in the back loop only. Oops, almost worked a single crochet. There we go. Go ahead and put your stitch marker right back through both loops of that slip stitch. All right, back loop only, slip stitch. Try not to make them too tight because you're going to have to work back in them. No increasing. We aren't going to be doing any more increasing until we get down to the brim. And then we're just going to do it a little bit. There we go. So slip stitch in the back loop only of every stitch all the way around. And I will be back when I get back to the stitch marker. Okay, just coming up to my last stitch. Here we go. Last slip stitch. Remove my stitch marker, and working in the back loop only of our slip stitch, we work single crochets. Immediately put my stitch marker back into my first single crochet made. Now, back loop only of all of our slip stitches gets a single crochet, and this is going to create a really sharp and pronounced seam. It's going to be really cool looking. Let me show you. Let's see here. Here is our seam right here, and a clear bend. You can see where it just wants to bend down. Nice, sharp, easy bend too, so it doesn't struggle to bend down where it wants to pop back up. You can see right here where it separates. See right there? It wants to just bend down. And that's what you want. You want it to bend down because these hats are supposed to have a flat top. Obviously, when you wear it, you know, the top is going to dome out a little, but if you see the edge still has that crisp flatness that you want, that gives the silhouette of the bucket hat. That's what you want. So that's what we are achieving using this technique. So we start off with our back loop only slip stitches. Now we are working into these slip stitches. We work back loop only single crochet. In every stitch, no increasing. Okay, I just worked my last single crochet of this round. Now the next round we're going to do a little bit of decreasing just to further, oh, by the way, I'm working my first single crochet now. I'm putting my stitch marker right back. Now, how we're going to do this is pretty much any random but evenly spaced out 4 spaces as you're working your single crochets around. Just work 2 single crochets together. I'll show you how that works if you've never done one before. So I'm going to go ahead and work like 10 stitches. So this was 1, and we're working in both loops now. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. 6. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now my next stitch, I'm going to enter in the stitch and pull up a loop and stop. Now enter in the very next stitch over, pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all 3, and we just turned 2 single crochet into 1. Do this at random, but try to be evenly spaced, you know, 4 times. That was 1, so I need to do it 3 more times. And the reason we're doing this is to further stovepipe our hat so that it doesn't try to flare out like a beanie. We want it to go straight up and down. So we're just kind of tailoring it in a little bit. Okay, I will be back when I get to the end of this row. Okay, I finished that last round where I reduced my stitch count by a total of 4. Now here's what we're going to do, and here is your homework. You're going to work one more round of regular single crochet. There is my first. Put my stitch marker back. So work one more round of regular single crochet. That's a total of 3 rounds of single crochet. The 4th round, we're going to work back loop only single crochet. The reason for this is it prevents the hat, as you can see what we have now, it prevents the hat from doing the beanie thing where it goes from the crown of the hat and then kind of rainbows down. We don't want it to rainbow down. We want it to stovepipe down like so. Oop, there we go. We want it to look like this. So in order to achieve this, every 4th round of working your single crochet, you're going to work a back loop only, and that's just going to keep it directionally going straight down. So you can see here, I've worked 1, 2, 3, back loop only. 1, 2, 3, back loop only in the 4th. 1, 2, 3. Now, I say in the 4th. The 4th round, we're also going to consider, we're going to count it, by the way it looks anyway, as our first just regular single crochet row. So you can see I have worked 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows of regular single crochet. And then the 4th row, I worked back loop only on top of the 3rd row. But I'm still counting because it looks like a regular row minus the bar right here. This right here still looks like a regular row of single crochet. So I count it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you do this, it keeps the hat, boom, straight. That's what we want with a bucket. Flat on top, stove piping down the sides, okay? If not, let me manipulate it here. If we don't do that, we get this sort of beanie look. But that's not what we're going for. We're going for this. Whoop. We are going for this, as you can see. It's just going straight up and down, okay? So your homework is to work every 4 rows, back loop only, until you reach a measurement of 8 inches from the center down. Let me show you how I measure mine. Kind of flatten it out a little bit. There we go. I start at the very center, then I come along, drag it down the side until I have 8 inches right there. Okay? And you can see how that works. Just like that. That's really the only way, because you can't flatten this out like I'm trying to. You can't flatten it out to measure it. So you're going to have to just hold it straight up and down as it sits. There we go. And measure it that way. Eight inches. Okay. When you get to 8 inches, come on back and we will start the brim. This hat is really just that easy. It's a fast, you could almost call this a 2-hour hat. We'll see. Okay, so I haven't quite reached my 8 inches, but I was really excited to move on to the brim, especially since I already made one of these. I don't need 2. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the brim now, since the stitch count is going to be the same whether I'm 6 inches down or 8 inches down. It's going to be perfectly fine. So when you do reach your 8 inches and you're ready to start the brim, I already took out my stitch marker. Here is my first stitch of my new round. You're going to work front loop only, slip stitches all the way around in every stitch. And remember, try not to make them too tight. You don't want your work to buckle, and you also want to be able to work back into those stitches. Okay. So work one row of front loop only slip stitch. Come back when you get around back to the beginning of the row. Okay, just worked my last slip stitch. Now we work one round of single crochet through both loops of that slip stitch. So here's my first slip stitch, and you can see, I hope you can see, I know this dark color is hard, but here's both loops, top loop. Here we go. Both loops. Here is the bottom loop and the top loop. We're going to treat these slip stitches like single crochets and just work underneath both loops of your slip stitch, working a single crochet in every slip stitch all the way around, no increasing yet. This is going to help jet our brim out the way we want it. Okay. Come back when you get back to the beginning, get back to your stitch marker. Okay, made it back around to the beginning. Now this row we're going to do increases. So every 8 stitches, work an increase. And it doesn't matter how you end. If you end with 4 stitches left to go, or you worked 10, then you could do an increase, and then you had 2 stitches left. That doesn't matter. As long as the majority of your stitches that you can work around, every 8 stitches, you work 1 increase. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're working through both loops. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now my next stitch will be an increase, so 2 stitches in the same, 2 single crochet in the same stitches, and then we start all over again. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, my yarn got balled up under my fingers. So you see how that works. Every 8 stitches, where the 9th stitch will go, you will work in an increase of 2 single crochet into the same stitch all the way around. I'll meet you when we get back around to the stitch marker. Okay, just came back around to the beginning, and my last stitch was my 8th stitch, so I won't be working an increase. All right, so now you can see that we are starting to have a bit more shape here. So your homework from this row until the end is just going to be 3 rounds of single crochet, and that's it. Your last stitch, here is how I ended my last single crochet. Because we are working in a spiral, I just slip stitched into what would be my first stitch, and then I slip stitched into the stitch next to it and cut, and that helped it to look fairly even. So that is how it will look. Let me back my camera out just a little bit. And this is what it will look like after 3 more rows. Oops. You'll have a pretty good amount of brim there. And so that is it. That's the whole hat. And if you want to give it that super 90s look where you pin it up, what you will do is you'll take a needle and stitch it, just put a couple of stitches to hold it in place right here. And then what I would do, because you don't have to go super fancy with it, is get you like a fake flower. You can get these at the dollar store, and cut this long nubby off, and then take a little bit of hot glue and just hot glue it right on there. And that will give you that type of hat look. That was also really popular in the 90s, and I would think this would be more used for like cosplay, stage performances, whatever the case may be. I don't know. Maybe someone's thinking about doing a production of Friends Live. I'm just kidding. So, okay, so this is the hat. Remember, just 3 more rounds after you've worked your increase round. Just 3 more rounds of single crochet all the way around. No more increases at all, just 3 rounds. And the way I told you to, where your first and your second stitch are slip stitched into, and that's it. You're done. Your hat is done. And I really hope you guys give that yarn a try, because it is way better than the Bernat. I'm just saying it. It's better than the Bernat, at least for projects like this. Okay, guys, I'm going to get off of here. This is my last video for the year 2022. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. I love you guys always, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2023. Bye.